It's juicy, it has tectonic plates, it's lightly sour. Today we're drinking Quench Quake. Hi guys, it's Jim here from drtankenstein.com with another episode of Beers of the British Isles. On today's episode, we're drinking Quench Quake from BrewDog. This is a fruited sour beer that comes in at 4.6%. BrewDog rate that as sessionable. I'm not so sure that's sessionable. 4.6 is a little bit high for me on that regard, but they're the experts, I'll trust them. What I found interesting about this, in doing a little bit of research on this beer, if you read the BrewDog UK site, this is a sour beer. If you read the BrewDog EU or European BrewDog site, it's a lightly sour beer. So I guess maybe Europeans like their beers more sour than we do. But anyway, this is a grapefruit and tangerine sour. Like I say, 4.6%, 37 IBUs. Now for a BrewDog beer, of course, that is very low. However, I would expect it to be lower. Typically, sour beers don't have that much hop character in it. The alpha acids that contribute to the bitterness of beers tend to kill off bacteria, they have a preservative effect, which means that sour beers generally don't have a lot of bitterness in them. We'll wait and see how that turns out, I guess. So this is a grapefruit and tangerine, but they reckon there's loads of fruit characters in this. They're expecting lime, they're expecting lemons, and weirdly, not a flavour you see in beer that often because it's typically regarded as an off flavour. They're expecting apple. So that kind of leads me to ask the question, is this a real sour or not? Because if it's soured with bacteria and that's where the apple's coming from, cool. If it's just soured by the fruit, then it's kind of interesting that you would see apple in there. Now, in BrewDog's description, the apple is accompanied with a pie crust and biscuit malt backbone, which again is quite interesting in a sour. A sour beer, typically you would imagine sort of kind of dry with, sourness, obviously, low bitterness, but quite palate cleansing and refreshing, very clean. I don't know what I'm expecting from this beer, to be honest. So I guess the best thing to do is just jump in and find out. Well, it certainly looks the part. What we have here in my cold glass is a very clear beer. It looks less clear than it is just because it's so heavily carbonated, which in a sour is kind of what you would hope for. A very clear beer, lightly coloured, very kind of pale straw coloured. No head, which as I've said before, sour beers tend to not have very good head retention because of the low pH. Very highly carbonated. It definitely looks the part. Almost the sound of pouring it into the glass, it sounded like a sour, just because it was so fizzy, you could hear the bubbles. So far so good in that respect. Let me just see. So the aroma, I'm expecting, I don't know what I'm expecting with this one, to be honest. A sour beer, generally you would sort of imagine that kind of butyric acid aroma, kind of a bit sort of vomity. But with this one, I'm not sure. Yeah, there is a touch of that, I guess, but yeah, maybe tangerine, maybe like a sweet citrus aroma. It does smell a little bit beery, a little bit on the beery side, to be honest. And of course, this is a beer, so that makes sense, but not what I was expecting. Let me. That is sour. It's not mouth puckering. I think they've married that quite well, to be honest. They've married it probably is lightly sour. It probably is lightly sour, but there's almost no residual sweetness in it. And it is quite crisp and bitter. So very low body, very highly carbonated, quite sour, a little bit bitter. That kind of marries well, and it really makes an impact physically in your mouth. You know, it kind of cleanses your palate. It hits every area of your mouth. So let's see if we can comment on any flavors, because I've not really done that yet. Quite limey, yeah, quite limey. Very interestingly limey, actually. Yeah, very limey. Yeah, so the lemon and the lime are definitely there. There is maybe a subtle aftertaste of that apple, but I'm not sure if that's just because they've told me that it's in there, you know. But the flavors that I'm getting from it are lemon and lime. Definitely those two. To be honest, the flavors that I can't see are tangerine and grapefruit. And you know me, I find grapefruit in every beer. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they've definitely put grapefruit and tangerine in this, but it's coming through to me as a very nice marriage of sour, bitter, carbonation, low body, and then just a massive lemon and lime punch. Zero malt backbone, no biscuit, no crust. Limes and lemons. The makers of this beer, BrewDog, basically need no introduction. Everybody knows BrewDog, founded in 2007 in Aberdeenshire in Scotland, proudly Scottish. They started two guys and a dog and a pizza place. No, two guys and a dog in 2007, and they've just gone to this massive, huge, global juggernaut of a brand. I would argue one of the faces of craft beer. And they do that, that's happened because they generally make really good beer. They generally are very good brewers. The other side of their success, I think, can't be argued. I mean, I think here I have probably one of the last remnants of their old kind of design motif. But everything they do falls under the same umbrella. Everything is unified. Everything is unmistakably BrewDog. Like I said, they've recently changed their branding a little bit. I don't quite know why, because it seems to me like they've gone a little bit away from their roots with the new style, but that's up to them. They're by far the experts in this. So, like I say, one of the reasons is their marketing. They'll do anything in the name of marketing, crazy things, because these guys are just innovators. From bringing craft beer to the UK in the first place, they've popularized hops. They even invented, finally, the thing that every beer enthusiast has wanted since day one, a beer jacuzzi. I mean, who doesn't want warm, flat beer that they can swim in? You name me one person. Now, this is a sour beer. It's sourish, like I say. I think they've married it quite well. It's not so sour. I think they're right in their lightly sour description. But they do have their own kind of sour program that I think is just starting to peer over the wall a little bit. Their Overworks program. They have a whole facility dedicated to barrel souring beers, and it seems like they're doing quite well. Like I say, these guys are not afraid to dream big and aim high. Right, let's knock this one on the head then. Let's sum up Quench Quake, the Tectonic plated beer. First of all, looks amazing. If you wanted me to draw a sour beer, if I were to imagine a sour beer, this is what it would look like. Very little aroma, just that slight kind of acidic, maybe butyric acid, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, like I say, the marriage here, I think this beer's strength is balance. And I hate to say that its strength is balanced because it sounds really corny, but it really is. It's not so sour, it's not so bitter, but those two come together so well with the very low body and high carbonation, and they make something that just feels right. It feels like a sour. Then you're punched right in the throat with limes and lemons. It's really quite refreshing, actually. It's really very good. I'm not sure if it's, you know, if you're a sour beer fan, this might not be sour enough for you. But if you're someone just dipping their toe, check it out and see what you think. I'm not going to rate this beer, but what I will say is if this beer were a song, it would be Earthquake by Tiny Temper and Labyrinth. A, because I'm pretty sure that song has tectonic plates too. B, because it's kind of a cool song, a bit too cool for me if I'm honest, and I'm wondering whether this beer is also a little bit too cool for me. Nevertheless, I've enjoyed it. If you want to grab yourself one, head down to a supermarket. Like I say, I get this one from Tesco. Head down to a supermarket, grab one and see what you think. See if you can find those tangerines and grapefruits that I just couldn't find. Maybe you can find some pie crust that I lost. So head down there, grab one. If you like this, you should definitely take the bottle down to your local craft shop and ask them for a fruited sour, because some of the fruited sours that exist out there in the world that your local shop will stock will absolutely change your idea of what beer is. So guys, in the meantime, cheers.